In Chapter 4, we're going to start by talking about the properties of parallel lines. Parallel lines, again, as a refresher, are coplanar lines that do not intersect. So this is what they would look like. Usually they're marked by like two little red arrows pointing the same way. That would indicate that those two lines are parallel. And then something we're also going to talk about today is a transversal line. A transversal line is basically just a line that cuts through the parallel lines. And when we have that, we're going to look at inside here is the interior of the parallel lines, and everything outside of it is the exterior. So now let's say we have that same diagram. L and M are parallel, and line T is that transversal line. There's a bunch of different angle pairs that we can form out of this relationship. I'm going to start by labeling the 8 angles that I see in this diagram. First, we're going to talk about alternate interior angles. An example of these would be angle 4 and angle 6, which would be congruent, and also angle 3 and angle 5, which would also be congruent. Alternate interior angles are angles that are on alternating sides of that transversal line that are on the interior of those parallel lines. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Next, let's look at same side interior angles. An example of that would be angle 4 and angle 5. Angle 4 and angle 5 would add up to be 180 degrees. Another example here would be angle 3 and angle 6. These would add up to 180 degrees. Notice that these are angles that are on the same side of the transversal line and are on the interior of those parallel lines. Same side interior angles are supplementary. Next, let's look at corresponding angles. I like to think of these as angles that are like stacked on top of each other. So like one's on the interior, one's on the exterior, they're on the same side of the transversal. These angles are going to be congruent as well. Example of these would be angle 1 and angle 5, angle 4 being congruent to angle 8, angle 2 being congruent to angle 6, and finally angle 3 being congruent to angle 7. Finally, the last relationship that we're going to talk about is alternate exterior angles. So these are angles that are on alternate sides of the transversal and they're on the exterior of the parallel lines. Examples of these would be angle 1 and angle 7. These would be congruent. And angle 2 and angle 8. These would be congruent as well. Notice that pretty much all these angle relationships are congruent other than same side interior. Those are supplementary angles. So we're going to use those angle relationships to identify new angles. So in looking at diagram in number 1, I want to find the measures of angle 3 and angle 4. I'm given 105 degrees of this angle here, and that's going to be kind of where I center everything from. If I look at that 105 degree angle and angle 3, I could see that these are alternate interior, not exterior. These are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent, so if that angle is 105 degrees, 105 degrees. Next, to find angle 4, I notice that angle 4 and angle 4 and that 105 degree angle are same side interior angles, and we know that those are supplementary. So 4 plus 105 is 180. Angle 4 has got to be 75 degrees. Let's look at one more example for today. I want to solve for x and y. Notice here, so this might just look like a weird trapezoid, but I have a pair of parallel lines, and those like other sides there are like the transversal. So again, we're going to use those angular relationships to set up an equation and solve for our two variables. Let's start with x. I see that those two angles are same side interior, so I'm going to add them together and set them equal to 180. So I have 2x plus x minus 12 equals 180. I'm going to combine like terms, so I get 3x minus 12 equals 180. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Finally, I'm going to divide by 3. X would have to be 64. I'm going to do the same thing to find my y values. I see that also those two angles are same side interior as well. So I add them up and equal them to 180. 3y plus y plus 20 equals 180. Combine like terms. I'm going to subtract the 20 on both sides. Finally divide by 4. And I would get that y equals 40 and I'd be done.